my video went down again.
Why?
I don't know why. Something wrong with the connection around here. Probably they want to censor us.
Yeah, probably.
Ghost is coming up on us.
It's Ghost.
I told Cammie that we were going to be harassing her today a little bit.
Oh.
Me trying to, talk. I'm live right at the moment. So,
Well.
So one of the things
you harass her every time you see her, so just shut up.
we're basically being nice, you know.
Oh, Ghost.
So Diana, I just got
Ghost.
jumped on. Yeah.
Just tell Robert to shut up.
No, I just told him he does.
He does all the time.
Doing his normal.
Well, if we don't,
we're holding each other accountable. That's
holding
all.
each other accountable and being accurate,
That's all. We're
Yep.
fine.
So Cammie talked yesterday a lot about the basically drop the mic stuff in the last hour and a half of court, and then it sounds like that might have came from the defense people, not the prosecutor. Is that right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So the prosecution was going
Pluckett.
after. You got some of that stuff.
If I'm saying his
Diana?
name right, Pluckett, or maybe that's just my nickname for him because his last name sounds like Pluckett.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds like something else. It sounds like. So you're not going to make
Pluckett.
fun of anybody's.
No, I'm not.
Not going to make fun of anybody's last
No.
name.
Actually, I was kind of wondering if some of that information came from a sidebar and not the actual testimony.
You think so?
How do you get a sidebar?
She wants. Cammie just heard that you're.
I can't get a sidebar.
Well, were you in the courtroom or were you in the reporter's room?
Reporter's room.
Yeah.
So how'd you get the sidebar?
The people in the courtroom got to hear the sidebar.
Crap. Pluckett asked about the FTO program, which she oversaw. She acknowledged recruits.
See, you were talking about that video that went out. That wasn't supposed to go out. This explains it.
Yeah, she didn't.
So how about we explain it?
She didn't
Because
realize.
what we're talking
that
about is the
training
press
video
pool notes.
that they were using.
Right?
Okay.
Sorry. Pluckett was just showed her the training video. I didn't see I only heard the audio, but according to her, she didn't realize they were using this video to train officers.
Oh, you were probably listening to the sidebar then.
No.
If you only heard audio? No?
Well, he played the video, but it was just the audio of the video. But she didn't realize that they were using this training technique on the officers.
Okay. Because here what it says is she was testing SurveyMonkey. And she sent out this survey of this training.
That's what I forgot to mention, SurveyMonkey.
And it wasn't meant to be official training. It was something to test the system. And she didn't realize they were using this as a training tool. So it was a mix-up. Yeah. And evidently it didn't get caught right away.
Yeah.
And so
that's what I mean.
you're saying the witness was surprised when
she didn't know it was being used. Yeah.
Yeah.
SurveyMonkey. I forgot to mention it. So it's
So
a lot of detail here. Sorry. But yeah, she didn't realize it was being used.
Yeah. So we're getting the press pool notes. So.
See, I don't hear the sidebar stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's just make it clear to people so people understand what basically Cammie was talking about, because Diana's got information on that.
Yeah, so the video that was being used to train the officers, she didn't know it was being used.
Right. And also the person that was refuting the training stuff, where basically the person that was the training person that put the program together was defending her training originally in the testimony, but then it sounds like another witness came on, a man, and he was saying that the training wasn't that great, basically, to put it in real simple terms. And anyway, this SurveyMonkey had some pretty condescending comments come back from FTOs and
Field training officers.
I don't know. Yeah, from the field training officers, and I don't know if we want to put it out here. It's kind of raw. And,
that was in court. Did that get?
well,
That's
this
in
was
the
this
sidebar.
was in a sidebar, so I
So
don't know
I
if
can't hear
we
this.
I don't know if we want to talk about
I
this
don't think we're
because
supposed to. That's why we
because
can't hear.
the jury isn't supposed to know about this, and I know
No.
the jury isn't supposed to be watching media and stuff,
No.
but we don't want to influence them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're not. So we're not
So
supposed
this
to
might
hear
be
the
something we might
sidebar.
talk about after the jury goes into sequestration or comes back with their verdict.
Okay.
Yeah,
But-
that's why they do
yeah,
the sidebar. So
Well,
no one can
the
hear them.
jury is not supposed to.
They're not supposed to, but what do you think?
You
Yeah.
probably do, but I don't hear the stuff in the
Yeah.
sidebar because we're not meant to hear that.
But as far as the sidebar stuff goes, how
Well, I think the reporters it's okay to hear that, but I don't know. I think you have to use your discretion on if you want to report on it, and if it's really.
how come the press are getting copies of the sidebar? How come we're getting access to
Because they have they have
hold
the
on.
press. The press
Yeah.
is down there in the courtroom, and they're allowing them access.
Okay.
I mean, if they didn't want them, I guess if they didn't want us to know this or disseminate it, the judge would give instructions to that. I haven't seen instructions pro or con if they want this sidebar stuff out. So,
But we were talking about that yesterday and didn't know that this was a sidebar
yeah,
because Cammie didn't indicate that.
well, if you. There's a lot of
I knew,
information coming from a lot of
I
different
knew
sources.
about when he mentioned the Survey Monkey. I knew about the Survey Monkey, but I don't hear the stuff on the sidebar. So I know
Yes.
about the Survey Monkey, and I know that they're upset because recruits don't know the proper training because they're not being taught the proper training.
Yeah.
I know about that, but this is a sidebar I didn't know about. I knew. So I knew about the Survey Monkey and the 40 hours that the FTOs do in the training. I had that written down.
Yep.
So I knew about this. So why they talk about that in sidebar, I don't know. But I knew about all that.
Yeah, because one of the questions she asked on that survey, I think this is okay to say, is what's the biggest challenge you have as an FTO? And that's the one that got some interesting responses.
Yeah.
And like
They're
I said,
saying that the recruits suck at their job. I'm sorry. I'm just saying
So
that's
how
the
about we
word
just
that
let
they
Diana-
use.
not
let-
recruits. They
No.
weren't saying recruits.
The FTOs.
Yeah. Well, let's just let Diana talk about it.
Yeah.
So, we'll take turns.
So they're making a derogatory statement basically about the FTOs. Basically, they're saying some FTOs should not be FTOs. Even though they're giving them this training, they're basically saying you can't teach an old dog. In my interpretation, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And I know this is something that Minneapolis has been struggling with is to get everybody on the same page, to bring them up into the modern times of policing. So
I think it's okay to use the word they use. SUCK. I'll spell it out. But they were saying, Chauvin hadn't been in the force in like 19 years. No, that can't be.
Chauvin was on the force for 19 years. That's why they were the younger officers were listening to him, because some of them had just barely gotten off of their training period.
What was that 8-year thing for Chauvin? Because they mentioned he hadn't been on the thing for 8 years.
He's a 19-year veteran
Yeah.
of the Minneapolis Police Force.
Okay.
Okay, so Pluckett, the attorney, suggested that old habits die hard,
She partly agreed.
and she partly agreed.
But the intervention they're talking
Yeah,
about.
Chauvin hadn't been back at the academy for 19 years, because he's been 19 years on the force. So things were a lot different back when he went through
That,
the training
yes,
than what these recent graduates. So there's, some disparity there,
They're talking about like using SurveyMonkey for stuff, and a lot of people
This wasn't meant to be training.
yeah, but there's a lot of people who use all of these tools nowadays, like SurveyMonkey and there's all kinds of these things. Zoom. We're using all these new tools. Sometimes stuff goes out that people. What do you guys think about those? These kind of things coming up, issues like.
Yeah, and it sounded like the only quiz on the Fourth Amendment that was brought up too.
Yeah, they don't do a lot of testing. They said the only quiz in the training is on the Fourth Amendment.
Okay.
And that's a section taught by a lawyer. So there isn't a lot of.
She's got some high heels on.
Yes.
Those are the dangerous type.
They are. I know, right?
So what else we have?
Let's see.
We get a lot of entertainment here.
And here is. She agrees that this is what they're supposed to rely on. Okay, they're talking about the FTO handbook. They're supposed to rely on to teach their recruits, and concedes that nothing in it talks about duty to intervene. And here, the person observing says the jurors were watching very closely and taking notes.
Oh, yeah, we were. I know I was. I don't know about other.
So the jury was watching this.
Well,
They were alert for this part, too.
I was so alert. I'm like, wow.
The one thing that's really neat about these notes is some of the people writing the notes, they'll look over at the jury and they'll make observations about what the jurors are
This
doing.
This is
like
what
if they're staring off into space and daydreaming, or if they're actually paying attention, if they're taking notes,
That's what
or if they're looking distressed.
You're supposed to do that, yeah.
That's what we want Cammie to do. Cammie's pretty good at paying attention. She's not focused as much right at the moment, but she tends to be normally focused on.
I had a very long week, Robert.
Yeah, she normally focused on the people and the relationships and a lot of the critical stuff that really makes a difference.
Yeah, I mean, within the last hour and a half, Pluckett really dug deep, and let's just say he had my attention. Things got, I couldn't believe that was.
And the jury did hear this stuff.
Yeah.
And
evidently,
they also talked
because
about able cars and.
An able car is a one-person car.
All right.
So when they talk about able car, that means there's only one cop in the car. So evidently that's was a contention with the FTOs on the training, because evidently there's a point where they switched the training from being 10 days to 8 days, or the final evaluation of their training. And at one point there it says they put them in an able car, which means they're alone. So I don't know. I don't know if they're still doing that, but that's what came back on that survey.
One of the things that Cammie brought up yesterday is that the first responding officers are the officers who are in charge. And
the most senior person of the first responding car.
So it sounds like the first responding cars were the junior people.
They were.
The rookies.
So, and if I understand it, so they were in charge of that scene, right?
Until they're relieved by a higher ranking.
So were they relieved?
I don't know. Usually it would.
That's what we're trying to find out.
Usually it would be like a lieutenant or a sergeant, and none of them. They were all patrol people.
Yeah.
Chauvin was patrol, so I don't know if his seniority in time in grade gives him, but he had just been an FTO of one of the junior people there. So, I mean,
That's what they're trying to dig deep in and find out. That's why he mentioned Chauvin's psych eval.
yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Monday should be interesting because he's just getting started with this.
Yeah, and see the thing that I saw from the other newscast too, they talked about Lane, and several times he asked Chauvin to roll Floyd over, and Chauvin didn't do it.
He disobeyed Chauvin.
So, and considering Lane just 3 days before had been under him in the FTO program, been his training person under this FTO, Chauvin, what are you going to do? You tell your teacher, do this. This is the right thing to do. And I think it was 3 times he told him, and he doesn't do it. How much more are you going to do? I mean, everybody's carrying a gun there. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So
this is significant to their case and their charges, right?
Right.
Because who was in charge and who was listening to who and who was not behaving appropriately, and what happened, and whether or not what happened was as a result of what they did. Because obviously George Floyd ultimately died.
Yeah.
Now, did he die from the abuse, or did he die from neglect? Not being medically treated properly.
And that's why they're talking a lot about chokeholds. One chokehold is unconscious, another chokehold, depending on the situation, is the conscious, but just enough to tame him.
But they're also arguing that he might not have died from the chokehold, but he died from neglect. And there was a responding person there who was a paramedic or an EMT or something like that, who was offering assistance
the off-duty firefighter,
was offering assistance, and the police officers were blocking the officers. The
Tao
person
particularly,
Tao wouldn't let her help.
Yeah, so if you've got like a Good Samaritan kind of thing, where you've got somebody who's bleeding to death, and somebody's refusing to let you put a tourniquet on that bleeding leg, is that person who refused to let you put a tourniquet on that bleeding leg responsible for that lady bleeding out? This guy Floyd was possibly overdosing on fentanyl, and that lady might have been able to give him one of those packets, right, or some kind of a antidote or something like that. That lady might have been able to save him.
Yeah.
And we don't.
She had Narcan on her or something,
Well, I got Narcan.
I know you do.
I got, the Antifa guy was he's not Antifa, but he was one of those. He was giving those out to everybody, and he said that we were the kind of people that would be the best ones to have them, because they believed that we would make sure that they would give them to the people that need it.
Yeah, he was going around to the tent camps and
he was like, he walked up to me and he said that I'm exactly the kind of person that we would like to have this stuff, because I wouldn't be under the influence, but I might be able to respond to somebody who is, and then we could fix it. Well, this lady was offering to help, and ultimately the guy died. And so whether it was from a chokehold and whether it was a knee to the neck by Chauvin, or it was neglect.
Okay, an interesting thing here at the end too is one of the lawyers chewed out on the other lawyer for something, but who's ever recording this couldn't tell what it was about. But the one lawyer promised he wouldn't do it again.
I'm sure.
So there's a lot of interesting things that go down the courtroom. You got to get down there.
So we got to get Cammie in there so she can see some of the show, because these guys are putting out the notes, and we can't share these to public, because this is work product, but we can't share it. But
it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Oh yeah, they definitely had my attention. I was like, wow. At least mine. I don't know about the other reporters in the room, but I was like.
Well, the jury got their attention too.
Yeah. I'm sure the juries were like.
Yeah. So So I guess the big thing is what you said yesterday. Something got put out as training that wasn't meant to be put out as training, and they were using it as training, and it was not.
Yeah.
It was not meant for that. It wasn't the final approved training. So, oops.
Whoops. So what do you think that means that
Oops.
inappropriate stuff was used for training? Whose fault is that? Is it the fault of the defendants?
It's almost sounding like the lawyer was accusing the witness, like, well, you should have, that's what it sounded like.
I would think ultimately the person that's in charge of disseminating the training,
Which
if
sounded
something
like it was
accidentally
her.
got out there,
Which sounded like it was her.
it should be her responsibility.
But she's not on trial.
No, she's not.
No, she's not.
Yeah.
But it's
So the question is, with this going on, are the officers guilty of poor training? Are they guilty? I mean, they sound like they have poor
Well,
training.
they do have training before they get to Minneapolis. They go through a post, what they call post training, that's given out by the state, and every police officer in every city gets this training before they before they get hired by a police department. So there is that basic training from post that they already have, and I'm sure that they cover some of this stuff in there, but Minneapolis has this is additional training to that. So so they can go back and say, well, they should have had this in their state provided training too. And I don't know if they're going to go back that far, but right now they're just sort of grilling Minneapolis on what they teach their officers specifically for the city of Minneapolis.
Yeah. So between the two of you guys, how fair do you think the news was that came out yesterday? The Channel 9's news?
Channel 9, what I saw on the...
It was like 15 or 18 minutes long.
Wait, no, you're talking about their podcast type thing.
Is that what it is?
They didn't have anything on the 10 o'clock news last night.
Well, I didn't see them there
I saw
yesterday.
a 15 or 18 minute long
I
thing.
didn't. I see
That
Court
wasn't
TV there.
that wasn't on the TV though.
The podcast?
It was it sounds like they do a live broadcast at lunchtime and right after the court closes, but that's not on the TV channel.
Well, we got it. How did we get it?
I just happened to see it on Facebook.
Okay.
I just happened to
Yeah,
see
it's like
That's right,
it must
sent
be
it
like
to
they
you
must
guys.
have like a live thing that they do that's not on the television. It's on the internet.
Because we shared that out.
But I think the news has been, it's pretty much matches my notes. I think they've been accurate, I'd say. I mean, coming from Fox 9 saying, there's a lot of, I forget the actual court names that they call it, but, sustained or overruled or, you already asked that question. You already showed this. We don't need to see it again. So there's been a lot of that, or objections, or remember that one. Reminds me of a noun. But yeah, there's been a lot of that. So yeah, if the question has been asked, the judge does not want to hear it.
Yeah.
It's don't repeat it.
The one thing that I do want to say is Channel 5 gives the most time on their television report. They give over 3 minutes to the trial.
Yep.
And I do think that they're pretty fair. I don't see too much that I would object to. Like I said, last night, Fox 9 at 10 o'clock, I did not see any coverage of it. And WCCO gave it 30, 40 seconds.
So if we see the regular news media doing something inappropriate or not covering stuff accurately or just neglecting stuff, we'll end up calling them out on it, right?
Yeah,
Just like they do when they come out to our events and they claim there was dozens of people here, right?
When there's hundreds or
Yeah.
thousands.
There's
Yeah,
They
thousands. There's probably 2,000 people, and they reported there was
a couple dozen, a few
couple,
dozen.
a
Yeah,
few dozen.
a few dozen.
A
Yeah.
few dozen means like 50 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. So we'll call them out on that stuff. So, but basically, it's been looking like it's relatively
Yeah,
fair.
it's been very skimpy.
Skimpy.
Yeah. So I'm sure they're probably saving up stuff, you know, for when it gets to that last week of the trial.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So Bruce isn't here today because he's working on another project, and he'll be here at like 1 o'clock, 1:30, something like that.
I do have to say, I only see channel 11 there and channel 9. I don't see 5 or 4 there. But Friday, I only seen 11 there. I didn't
Yeah.
see Rob Olson there Friday, so.
Yeah, 11 gave them about 30, 40 seconds of time again.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Being there all day long. And then I seen, and on my way out, I seen.
But
Court
that's
TV.
on TV now. They probably have other sources that they're putting stuff out to. You know?
Court TV was there too. They were doing a live thing when I was leaving, so Court TV, and that's a good one to watch too.
Okay. So how about we talk about Diana's stuff from, what was it, yesterday?
Oh yes.
Which one?
Well,
You
break them up.
You want Planned Parenthood first?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We went and did the Legion of Mary does a rosary every Friday afternoon in front of Planned Parenthood over in St. Paul. And yesterday I got there a little bit early, and I stopped and I talked to the sidewalk counselor, and she gave me a nice little interview. So that's on Facebook. And after we finished the interview, a car came out, and I didn't video because I want to respect privacy
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, she has this little box, and if you've been to Facebook, you've seen the little box they give out. It's got the little fetus in there, and
Plastic.
and information. Yeah, yeah.
It's not a real
Yeah,
one.
it's a doll. It's
Yeah,
a
it's
doll.
not a real one. Yeah.
It's a doll,
Yeah.
and it's got it's really cute. It's not gross.
It is actually kind of
And
cute.
there's literature in there that tells them the alternatives and stuff. And anyway, it's wrapped up real nice in a bow, and she presents it to these people. And this girl coming out, we think probably already had her procedure. But you know, what it is, the goal is to educate people so that hopefully she won't have to face this again in the future. Or if she does, she realizes she has other choices, and there are things available to help her out. You know, and she seemed very receptive to it. She actually smiled at the counselor, and the counselor is very, very kind and very, very gentle. You know, so I got to witness her in action, and it was good. And she did give me a very nice interview. So if you get a chance to see it,
What was
check
her
it out.
name again?
Mary.
It's on. That interview is going to be posted on your feed.
It's already on my
Okay.
page,
Yep.
and I also shared it out to several of the bigger groups.
Okay. So what other stuff did you have?
Yesterday,
We've been busy.
Yesterday, we had.
Child,
We've been
Child-
busy.
Child Protection League revealed their movie Shattered, and I forgot to bring my notes on that. And it talks about the problems we have with sexual predators of children in Minnesota, and it has some very, very good information in it. I did put the link to the movie out, and I shared it out to several groups, and it's also on my Facebook page, and I know I tagged you guys on it. So anybody, go ahead, share that movie out. It's a great movie. To just get an idea of what we're doing here and what's going on at the Capitol here when they talk about the Child Protection League, the legislation they're trying to get through. And one thing people have to understand, making the penalties for the higher crimes harder, stiffer, doesn't really do any good, because a lot of times there's different levels. There's possession, there's the creation of it, there's the distribution of it, and they're all different levels. And And typically what prosecutors do is they charge them for the lower level one of just possession when they could actually charge them for the other higher ones. And when they do that, they they basically either get a suspended sentence or probation or whatever, but they don't get into the prison system, so they never get on the predators list. And so they're out, and they just keep reoffending, and they get just a little slap on the wrist, and they're back out doing it again. So that's the problem that we're having. We need some sort of legislation so that they start charging them for more than just the basic possession. And they had some statistics on how many computers in Minnesota, something like this was back like in 2017. I might have that date wrong. There were over 8,000 computers in Minnesota that had child pornography on them. And we're just it's bad. It's bad here. It's really bad here. So.
All right.
So Child Protection League is doing some really, really good stuff, and we need to help them out and share out their information, because they're not that big a group. And one thing that they stress is we need to get this information out to all the churches and all the church groups and all the civic groups. Get it out and have them help spread the word and put pressure on our legislatures to go forward with the legislation. And one of the things that they said is holding up this legislation, it always comes back to the money. Oh, it's too expensive to do this. Well, how much money did we spend on that stupid morgue?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that Bix building, that was they hired me to work on the Bix building before they became the morgue, and before I was told about it. I didn't know about it until the news came out. And I got hired to work on that building as the engineer, to work on fire protection and putting in a fire pump and upgrading the fire protection system.
But how much money did we spend on that? If we would have taken that money,
$6.5 million, I think, or something like that,
and spent it on stuff for protecting our children, it would have been much better.
I don't believe that Bix building ever got occupied by anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But when I asked them why they wanted me to be working on this stuff, and they told me because it already had a fire protection system, and it was a on-grade building for the most part, so fire pumps and stuff usually aren't necessary. I asked them why they need this stuff, and they told me because they were going to be storing vegetables, and it was going to be this higher flammable hazard. Higher flammable hazard, because the place is already for storage of vegetables. That's what the chemical wash and everything in there. And I got lots and lots of video of the inside of that place. And it didn't make any sense to me. And then it comes out that they're storing bodies. That's what they're storing. And they wanted to have this higher, fire protection system for it. The government's like that a lot, so. We have our caucuses coming up on February 1st, and one of the things I was planning on doing is putting out some packets for caucus for all the candidates and stuff. And so I was going to try to reach out to them again about updating their stuff. I've already got packets for all of them basically, but some of the candidates haven't really cooperated with us. Most of them have. There's a couple of them. We got one of them that snubbed us out here at the Capitol, right? Big shot even. But generally speaking, they've been pretty good with us, and they give us stuff. And we'll put out these packets so that the people in their various precincts and stuff can refer to the packet. They can pull it up on their phone and have the information about primarily the governor candidates. But I think I'll try to make packets for the Secretary of State and the Attorney General candidates too. Maybe even if we get time, work on some stuff for the congressional district candidates. But we don't have a great deal of information on the congressional races. We haven't been hearing much about Tyler Kistner or Hagedorn or any of them, for the most part. But we've been doing mostly interviews with the statewide races. But we'll try to get more information on all the various CDs too. And actually, really, we might get more information on all the House District and Senate District stuff, you know, because Diana did some good stuff with one guy, right? He's a pretty funny guy, you know, he had a big smile, you know. So we're working with candidates about, you know, doing stuff for them and doing little interviews on that. So that'll be good.
Yeah, you just never know who's going to pop up at different places.
Yeah.
I know.
And we're always nice to them, right?
Oh yeah.
Except for
always.
Cammie. Cammie always attacks them, and she yells at them, right?
Yeah.
No, she doesn't. We're all friendly, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they're even starting to recognize me. I always tell them, well, I'm just the quiet one.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're showing up and we're trying to be neutral, right?
Yeah.
And fair. We're not intentionally trying to get anybody,
Yeah.
but I guess sometimes people do dumb stuff, you know, and it's not our fault.
Yeah.
Not our fault. So try not to do dumb stuff at public events. You know, that's just kind of like 101 candidate stuff, right? And if we start trying to cover up stuff that they do, especially if it's really bad, then it could potentially be our fault. We don't want to, you know, especially if it was a crime. We don't want to be accused of covering stuff up. So, and don't be trolling on Cammie because of something that was on a video that Cammie caught. You know, menacing her is really going to get a lot of us bristly. So we're done, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, all right. So we're probably gonna go over to the governor's mansion, and then what I probably should have done, I should have run videos of Cammie with Mickey Mouse ears and stuff.
Yeah.